Hello, my name is Sonia and we're going to continue with part 2 on making cuff down crocheted socks. Again, this is a formula that I've come up with to make a pair of socks to custom fit you. So part 1 we went over making the cuff. So what you should have done was make your cuff so that it fits comfortably either around your ankle or your knee or your calf, wherever you want your cuff to lie. So you don't want it to be, you know, super loose, especially if you want it around like more like knee-high socks. You want it to not be super tight, but just to be snug around there so that it'll stay up. But you don't want it to be so tight that it's uncomfortable. So I made a sample swatch here in larger yarn and a larger hook so that you can easily see what I'm doing here. Because this is my cuff on my socks that I'm making to fit me, and as you can see the yarn is much finer and be a little bit tricky to see. So our pattern sequence for our stitch pattern sequence for our cuff is 1 row half double crochet, 3 rows slip stitch, 1 row half double crochet, 3 rows slip stitch. So we need to form this into a circle so it actually looks like a cuff. So what you would need to do is you would need to end on the second row of slip stitch. So here is 1 row half double crochet, 1 row slip stitch, 1 row slip stitch. Now we're going to get ready to form this into a circle. So you would chain 1, you're going to turn your work, you're going to have the wrong side facing you. Then you're going to bring up the ends of row 1 right here. So you should have worked in the back bump, so it looks like a row of chains for the end of row 1, and then you have the end of your last row. So you're going to insert your hook into the front loop of the end of row 1 and the back loop of the end of your last row. And you're going to make a slip stitch with all of those stitches there. Going to do the same thing for the next stitch all the way across. So I've made 6 stitches, so I'm going to work 6 slip stitch across, working in the front loop of end of row 1, back loop of my last row. And what this does is it creates an almost invisible seam. If you want a completely invisible seam, then you could certainly sew it, but I try to avoid having not many ends to weave in, and I don't really enjoy sewing that much, so I've come up with this technique. So it's pretty invisible. If you're super fussy, then, you know, certainly feel free to sew it. So I've slip stitched all the way across. And so you can see that it looks pretty invisible compared to the rest of it. So now we're ready to work the body of the sock. So what you're going to do is you will chain 1, and you're going to work all the way the ends of your rows here. So what I did with my cuff for my sock is I worked 1 extended single crochet around a half double crochet stitch, just like that. And then these stitches here, it looks like a V here in our slip stitch. I inserted my hook right in the middle of that V and worked an extended single crochet. And then where you can spread these guys apart, I will put a stitch right in the middle there. Come on, hook. There we go. Worked my extended single crochet and then the next V stitch. And I just did that all the way around the cuff of my sock. So you want your stitches to not be too crowded together, but you don't want them to be too spread apart. So just work them, you know, evenly spaced all the way around. So we will do that here. And then when you're done, you want to place a stitch marker in your last stitch, and you will not join it. So you will not connect your stitches, because you will work in continuous rounds. So I would highly recommend that you use your stitch marker and place that in your last stitch. Then you'll want to count all of your stitches and then write down how many that you worked all the way around your cuff. So when you go to make your second sock, you'll already have your formula. So hopefully you wrote down how many stitches you made for your cuff. So for me, I made 6, and I worked 52 rows altogether. That includes the joining row. So I worked 51 rows, and then my 52nd row was my joining row. Alright, so we've come to the end of this cuff here, or the end of the round of the cuff. So what you would want to do is you would want to count all of your stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Place your stitch marker in your last stitch here. And then your next round, you would just get started and just work your extended single crochet all the way around. Now I've already done that with my sock, my second sock. So I worked the ends of my cuff here, the ends of the rows of my cuff, and I had 52 stitches all the way around. And here's my stitch marker here marking my last stitch. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to work as many rounds as you need until you reach about, I guess it's probably a little bit over 1 inch to your heel. And then we'll begin the heel. Now, if you are making knee-high socks, you know, your calf isn't normally, you know, completely straight up and down. So what you might need to do is you might need to increase or you might need to decrease some stitches so that your sock, you know, fits snugly around your calf. I made ankle socks, so I didn't need to do any increases or decreases. But you might need to do that. Or if, let's say you're making thigh-high socks, you know, your legs, you know, they change shape as they go up or down. So you're just going to want to try on your sock as you go along and just, you know, add or decrease stitches as necessary. So work the decrease stitch that I showed you in the first video. And to increase, all you would need to do is you work 2 stitches in 1 stitch. And for each round, I would just write down what you did. So let's say, you know, if you're making knee-high socks and you're on round 10 and you realize, oh, I need to decrease. So round 11, decrease, let's say you decrease 3 times. You would just write that down on your little sheet here. So here's my formula here. So I have my cuff. I did chain 7, I worked 6 stitches for 52 rows. And then rounds 1 through 6, I worked 52 extended single crochet. So if you needed to, you know, work your decrease or increase, just, you know, jot down those notes so that you have them handy. So when you make your second sock, you just look at your notes and away you go. So I am ready to work the heel now. Because this, when I try it on, it's about, you know, like that much space for my heel. So what you are going to need to do is you're going to work foundation single crochets. And for my formula, I made 24 foundation single crochet because I'll show you, let me show it to you and then you'll understand what I mean. So to make your foundation single crochet, you chain 2, work in the second chain from your hook. Basically, it's extended single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, okay, I've worked 24 foundation single crochet. So here is my last stitch for my round to begin the heel, and I still have it marked. And then I've worked 24 foundation single crochets, and then what I did is, just continuing on with my round, I skipped 24 stitches, and then in stitch number 25 I worked a regular extended single crochet to connect the heel. So when you would try this on, this part here is where your heel would stick out. Now you would work as many foundation single crochets as you would need so that it fits comfortably around your foot and your heel before connecting. So you don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. And I use foundation single crochet. I have made it where I just made a chain and connected, but I find the chain to be not very flexible, and foundation single crochet is a little bit stretchier, so it's a little bit more comfortable when you're putting your socks on and off. So just work as many foundation single crochet, so you might need to try it on a few times and then figure out how many stitches you need to skip. It might be the same amount as foundation single crochets as you worked, it might not be. Just for me, it happened to be the same amount, so I made 24 and then I needed to skip 24. But you might need to make more, you might need to make less. It depends. Everybody's feet are different. So once you have connected your heel, you're just going to keep going and finish off this round here. So this is actually, for me, I worked rounds 1 through 6. I just worked extended single crochets, or not, extended single crochet. And then round 7 is my heel. So I'm going to finish this up here. And I'll just keep working extended single crochet until I get to my stitch marker, and that would be the end of my row. Okay, I'm just about to the end of my row of starting the heel, or shaping, starting the heel, shaping it. So here's my stitch marker. Just gonna pull that guy out so that I can work my stitch. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker right back in there, because you're going to still want to mark your last stitch. So that is how we start shaping the heel. And then part 3, we're going to continue working with the body of the sock. Thank you for watching.